Hello, my name is Mary Jansen, and I will be walking you through a brief overview of the Civil Rights Review, just basics for the compliance and what that review process looks like. The purpose of this recording and this video is to highlight some main things on the PowerPoint. I don't want to read through and go into a lot of great detail on some of the slides. I want to allow you some time to dig into that on your own, but just to highlight some of the main things with that. As I mentioned, my name is Mary Jansen. I am with the Nebraska Department of Education. I am a career field specialist, and I am also the Office of Civil Rights Methods of Administration Coordinator, or also known as an MOA coordinator. My contact information is listed on that front slide, and also you'll see within correspondence, that is my contact information. So please feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm also working with Lily Blaze on this whole process, and she's kind of our MOA assistant coordinator as well, and she's also at the Nebraska Department of Education. So just a basic overview, this slide talks about what civil rights are. These next slides talk about the connection with civil rights, with the civil rights review process, and with career and technical education and our CTE programs. And then also the purpose of our reviews. So what the purpose is for NDE, for the Nebraska Department of Education, to report back to the U.S. Department of Education and the OCR office there. Within this compliance and review process, there are a lot of different people that are involved with it within your school and within your district. Depending on the size of the school or how your district and school is organized, you might take on several of these roles, or you might have a specific person for each one of these roles as well. But this is what the people that will be involved in this process looks like. These are the different federal laws that will be highlighted throughout that review process as well. So what does this process look like? It starts with the orientation, which this is a part of that orientation. So understanding what the OCR or civil rights review process is, and then starting the visit. So this would be the orientation. You can also follow up with phone calls with any questions. We can physically mail the actual manual or different checklists and materials to you. Those are all also available on the website. And then we're also open to a follow-up phone call or Zoom or video conferencing or follow-up emails as well. The big part of it starts with the on-site visitation. So that would be going through and conducting all of those interviews with different stakeholders within this process, going through and doing a facilities review and checking different things within the actual building and facilities, and then also looking at different materials that are connected to your career and technical education program. After the visit is the LOF, or the letter of findings, that summarize what we saw within the visit, and then also talks about what was compliant, what was non-compliant, and some things that we saw that were good. After the letter of findings, the school and district is responsible for a VCP, which is the voluntary compliance plan. That compliance plan basically outlines how you as a school and district will meet the things that were non-compliant and different things to do to make sure that you are compliant. And then after that is just monitoring to make sure that those things are done, especially like if it's a facilities change, we need to allow time for you to make those changes. So monitoring when you plan to do that and when it is done. This year looks a little bit different because of some specific restrictions that schools and districts may have on us coming into the building. So actually having that face-to-face contact with some of those interviews. So we are going to offer a desk review, which would be conducting some of those interviews with like administrators, different teachers, students via video conference, so via Zoom or a different way to do that, to alleviate some of the actual face-to-face contact with that. Also looking for different materials that could be emailed to us or linked to us. So like different course offering manuals or different things that we would see on the website just having that pointed out and shown to us and then sent to us rather than doing that in the actual on-site visitation. We hope that this will allow to still meet all of those requirements, but then also make it a little bit safer environment with COVID. After that, we hope to do a on-site actual physical visitation second semester if it's allowable by schools and districts and also by the Nebraska Department of Education. And there's some flexibility with that as well, since the interviews might not be conducted person to person on site. It would go a little bit faster, but it would really be a look at the different facilities and the things that are within that facility checklist. So going through that on-site visitation, then after that, like I mentioned before, going through and sending the letter of findings, receiving your voluntary compliance plan, and then monitoring that. This again looks at the different program compliance for your CTE program and then your different facility compliance. For the Office of Civil Rights requirements, the two blue sections are common areas of non-compliance or common areas where we see some issues. And these are shown on these ones. So basic procedures, continuous notification, handbook, so making sure if it's applicable to your school or your districts, that major publications are also available in different languages. So a good example of that is OPS generally has things available in Spanish as well for their Spanish speakers. No discrimination. This is also shows kind of what the annual discrimination notice should look like or sound like. It's another example. And then this is more specific to secondary. Post-secondary has a little bit different requirements for ADA programs and compliance. And then this just goes through what that facility compliance would look like and what we'd be looking for. One thing to look at when you're thinking about facility compliance is just understanding when the building was constructed and then if there's been any changes like an addition or renovations, and then looking at what year that happened, because then generally they're built to ADA compliance from that time frame or that year. So it's good to know, and it's good for us to know that as well as we go through that facility checklist. So the real thought is when we do this is to make sure that there are not huge disparities within students in your career and technical education programs, looking at the recruiting, the admission process with that as well. And then also to make sure that students have equal access and opportunities in CTE courses. So to make sure that we're aware of those and that there's a way for students to report that as well. This shows kind of, again, the steps that we talked about, but also has different resources. The OCR website, which is housed on the NDE website under the Perkins Management piece, and there's a link to that as well, has all of the different resources that you'll need or need to be aware of, including the actual compliance manual, the checklists, sample interview questions, facilities checklists. The color-coded map comes into play for the actual on-site review. So what that would look like to allow us to be able to find our way around the facility or the building. Same thing with the agenda. The agenda might look a little bit different, especially because if we schedule the interviews via video conferencing, the schedule for your teachers or for your administrators might look a little bit different based off of their availability to interview. And most of those interviews go about 15 to 45 minutes for planning purposes as well. The conference room would really be set up if we did a full on-site 2-day review face-to-face, which might look a little bit different this year. So please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to myself, Mary Jansen, or to Lily Blaze, so we can help facilitate this the best way that we can. And to make sure that you are in compliance with everything. The next follow-up will be emails sent out to start scheduling what we call our on-site reviews, but some of those interviews later on. Thanks.